Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hold on. This one.
Yes, last year's.
Got it.
This year we have more expenses before.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tim from, Rob from Oliver.
Yeah.
We got people all over the place. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here after the 3-day weekend. Hope you had a lot of fun and got a lot of stuff done. And it is time to meet some people, right?
Yep,
You're a little burned.
I am very much burned. RPAC golf tournament, sun got me yesterday.
Hello. Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Okay, say hi to two people you don't know.
You got 1 minute, go.
I've heard a lot of good things about you. About a year and a half ago, I was doing videos, like to free falls on people. And it was like a, hey, congratulations.
Hi, Paulina.
You're loving this.
Hi.
8, 7, 6, 5.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
We ended at 4.
Everybody's done early.
Big delay.
There we go. We even got the beeper. All right, then we got to get that, make it go. So every week we talk about either our MVP, V, or P. This week it's our beliefs. What is your favorite one today?
For me, it would probably be teamwork together. Everyone achieves more, just because, again, it takes a whole team to get everything accomplished what we do at the brokerage level.
And especially, yeah, that's what I was going to choose today too. Still with them. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but our leadership team is pretty amazing the way they work together. Have you ever noticed they have lunch together almost every day? That happened organically. Everybody just likes being around each other, and it's just kind of cool. We've
It
got
is a
such
bad
good
day
group.
though, if you don't ask anybody what else they want for lunch.
That's
They
right.
order lunch without them. Oh.
It's trouble then. All right, culture winner. Each week we do have a culture winner. Last week it was Nicole Beam, and this week she has nominated Lori Jett.
What?
Tell us why you nominated Lori.
Yep, so I did write it down because just to make sure all my thoughts are not jumbled. So Corey is always so happy and cheerful when she comes into our office to say hello and check in on us every day. She has a learning-based mindset and always participates in the classes that she attends. She has dove headfirst into building and growing her real estate business, and you can tell she has found her home at Keller Williams. I can't wait to see how much she continues to grow and thrive with KW Springfield. Thank you, Corey, for being such a kind soul that brightens everyone's day.
Yay. How long have you been here?
I've only been here since like May 1st.
May. So she's already seen how it can change everything with her life, and we're thrilled to have you here.
It's amazing here. I love it.
We love you, and we're glad you're the winner this week. So. We got here, were
No. No, I didn't like people.
Something's else.
Okay, vendor guide. So who do we have here in the room and online?
Oh, there's Christina. Let's start with Christina.
Hi,
Okay,
I'm Christina
go on.
Ferrante with 417 Home Loans. I'm your lending lady.
Jessica?
Jess Bowman Insurance Group. We're just here to be a part of your guys' team and helping your clients with everything insurance related.
There we go.
Cindy Sletbold with Great American Title. Remember, we've got 16 locations from Osage Beach down to Bentonville, Arkansas. If you're out and about, we're already there.
And they had nice cooling towels at the golf
Nice
tournament
cooling towels,
yesterday.
yeah, the golf tournament.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Anton with Community Mortgage Brokers. We serve our community with a wide spectrum of mortgage programs. So,
Awesome.
Anybody
I
online?
don't think so.
They got it all?
Mhm.
Very cool. Okay, also, do not call people you're not supposed to. This next slide will tell you why. Look at this. This was on Inman News this week. Keller Williams agreed to pay $40 million in a class action lawsuit.
Let's do the broker moment.
Isn't it? You like how we segued that together there? for you?
Back up there, would you?
Yeah.
Would you mind? There you go.
I'm shocked at this. If you'll look at it, it says the complaint calls out allegedly relentless marketing practices from Keller Williams and its agents, including a partnership with Landvoice. Anybody use Landvoice?
I do have a question though. How does that differ from Red X and using a dialer on making phone calls? So you can leave a voicemail, a physical voicemail, but you cannot drop an automated voicemail. Is that correct or incorrect?
Hell, I don't know. I think the deal here is this, for the last 27 years or so, I believe that you can call expired listings. I mean, haven't you always believed that? It says, but generates personal phone numbers associated with expired listings as well as homes near those expired listings. So I think.
And this is just part of the entire,
Okay.
that's all I've got, is just the one.
Okay, so, I've always thought that you could call expired listings because the number's advertised to us before it expires. I think we're gonna have to rethink that with this because this is, it's a lawsuit. It's not like we're proposing something or we're thinking about something. So all I'm gonna say to you is I suggest to you from this point forward that if you're gonna call an expired listing, whether it's expired this morning or it expired 3 months ago or 6 months ago, which is always a good idea too, put it on the do not call list and see if it's a do not call number. Because, that's big. They call that one agent here, Brittany Gayton. I'm sure she's got a team or something. But I think that could be any of us. I did it for years when I was, trying to generate business. It could be a big deal.
Market Center does have a login for the do not call list, so if you need information or need that login information, please let us know so you can cross-reference that.
It'd be a good idea to send it out. like
We
once a
will be
week.
sending out this article to everybody. We're gonna try to go through and take screenshots of the Inman, because not everybody can log into Inman as well.
Yeah, I think the automatic dialers, I think those are awful. That's just my opinion. Always has been, never have liked them. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think if you're gonna call somebody, you push the numbers in and you call them. And you know who they are when you get them. I don't like that idea, but that's just me. I'm just old.
There's a broker who did that. No.
But I again, strongly suggest expired listings, whether they're 6 months or this morning, that you check that do not call list because they can get you, your name could be up there on Inman News next week.
I've yet to hear anybody getting sued for knocking on somebody's door.
I was about to say, there's not a do not knock list.
Right.
There's another way to do it. But I will honestly tell you, and I'll repeat this, I've done this, for years. I loved expired, You give me 15 minutes, I can tell you why it didn't sell. Let me come over to your house. But if I can't call them, then I'm gonna have to go knock on their door. So that's the entirety of the broker moment today.
Side note, other broker moment, marketing. Make sure when you're marketing that you are conveying that you are with the brokerage, that you are not your own entity. That is an MREC violation of portraying yourself as the own broker.
You're good.
The other thing is fictitious name. Make sure you have that registered with the Secretary of State. Like I said, we are doing an audit over the next couple of months. There's a lot of y'all and a lot of fictitious names. So if you use a fictitious name, make sure you let Nicole know so we can put it on our spreadsheet. With the fictitious name, the brokerage has to be the owner. And that's just something that comes from the MREC. So if Mike is Browntown Homes, the brokerage has to register it as the sole owner, 100%. What I'm getting clarification on, I think that they mentioned, is that Mike could also register it. Now, what I don't want to scare you is if you were to ever leave KW, whatever, it will still go with you. We can transfer it from broker to broker, but any fictitious name at any brokerage has to be registered and the owner has to be the broker itself. So just keep that in mind as you're registering that. Yes, Amy.
Is this if we are using it to market or if we're getting paid under it?
If you're using it to market, or if you're operating, any sort of operating under that name. Now with if we're paying you as your LLC, that's what the LLC name will be, but you're not marketing as that. Now, like I said before, Jason and L is a perfect example. Jason and L Realtors, it's Jason plus L. If they were to use the ampersand sign, that's a whole other fictitious name. If we were going to shorten it as RW Real Estate, that also has to be registered as well. So any sort of variation, you could have 20 fictitious names registered at that point, depending on how you're operating under it. So please make sure if you are operating any other name other than your licensee name, what is printed on your MREC license, that has to be registered. So you'll be getting a lot of communication from us in the next couple of months in terms of advertising and fictitious names.
If in doubt, do it. That way you're covered. That's the
Yep.
best way to look at it. All right.
Can we start doing something different moving forward? And then we don't have to register that previous name that we've been using?
So if you're not going to use that name anymore, you wouldn't have to register. It's what you're going to be actively marketing to. Now, the thing I would be cautious of is if an audit came through in the MREC, let's say they pulled some back information and saw that name as well, you may want to get that registered just in case, depending on how long, because retention is 3 years for records. But it's $7 per fictitious name. So I would always err on the side of caution.
That'd be a lot more affordable than
Yeah.
than all the other
Yeah.
costs involved. All right, June has been incredible. We're 3/4 of the way
I can't believe
through.
it's almost July.
I know, this is insane.
It's crazy.
So we got Ignite still going on. Ignite is incredible. If you've not gotten into it yet, it's not too late. Jump in on it. It is there to help ignite your business and catch you on fire. So,
Susan Heron's teaching today.
yeah, so she's, and then we got Jesse Fisher, Kurt Kokenauer. It goes the rest of the month. Yeah, Tony Warner. We had the free headshots on Thursday. If you need new headshots, you just use the QR code, sign up. Photographers here will do awesome pictures for you, and you can use those for anything along with your fictitious name. And I think that's all we got on this. So, KW Military, they're looking for some more people in the area. Brian Fisher is part of it, but he's the actual one that told us, hey, put this out for males to know. If you have a military background, this is an incredible community to be part of. Save the dates. All right, lots of stuff coming up. Paulina, what's happening right after team meeting today?
Book club. So we are reading Atomic Habits. We're gonna be reading through the chapter 7. So if any of you guys are interested, just stay after team meeting and we're gonna be discussing it. Great book.
And that's gonna be going each week, correct?
Yes, each week after team meeting.
Awesome. And we are here, the professional series has been awesome. The crowds through summer have been great. So we've got Megan today, and then we have an appraiser panel next week. That is gonna be what you can learn about how you can make things, what stuff you need to put into a listing to help it appraise better, and what the whole appraisal process is. I think that will help you to see how to price things based on what an appraiser has to look at. So that's exciting, all the different things going there. What's going on tomorrow?
Wednesday is Pineapple Whip. So if you have not RSVP, please make sure you do that. Mike's drummer and his band will be here playing the steel drums.
He be playing Jamaican music.
Yep, all the time. So we just need to know how many whips that they're gonna be expecting to make as well. So please get registered. And I think Nicole has the RSVP link, and it'll also be in the internal page.
And they're going to whip it good. They're going to whip it real good.
Yeah, tomorrow's the first day of summer, so we hope you can be there with us.
Wow, and we're already burned. Awesome. Okay, also Thursday,
Yes.
Agent Financials.
And I believe we have a carload going up. So if you want to dive deeper into your financials or just even understand what it means, Agent Financials, this will be a one-day class in Kansas City, $50. And I believe Amy Malaya is taking a carload
Yep.
up, and maybe someone else, Elise Ellis, maybe?
I saw Amy's post. I did.
Okay.
Elise is taking people to Mega
Mega
Camp.
Camp, yep, okay. So this is a really great time to understand, what does a cost of sale mean? What does an operating expense is? How much should I think about for taxes? And really, what is my profit margin? Because we're not here to sell all the volume and the GCI in the world. Because if we're selling 100 million in GCI and we don't know how to manage our money and we're making $0, then what is the purpose of being in real estate? It's to fund your perfect life, and you have to have net profit in order to do that. So
Exactly.
Michelle McBride is a phenomenal instructor out of the Pennsylvania area. And she teaches market center financials and agent financials. So this is a great class to attend. And you can network with other market centers for referral.
And it's up and back one-day thing, so it's gonna be awesome.
And they're actually gonna start it at 10 instead of 9. So it
Yeah.
will allow you to go up there so you don't have to leave or get a hotel the night before.
Very cool. Also, Elise's class has been rescheduled to the 22nd at 11 a.m. She's also doing this around the region, isn't she?
Yeah, she's teaching at multiple market centers. And when Mike Dooley was here last week, he said, okay, great, I'll sign you up to come teach at ours. So it'll be a great class to be a part of.
Yep, that is awesome. Josh has the top 20% mastermind, June 28th. Next, is that Wednesday? Yes, it is. Okay. And then
Mega
August.
Camp.
Ready? Right. right.
Okay, Mega Camp, August 15th and 16th in Austin, Texas. Mike has a wonderful itinerary he went through and Haley designed it for
But
us.
have you all learned how my technique for dancing? You spell your name using your butt. So if you don't know how to dance, just spell your name. Okay?
Got it. Foolproof.
It looks so graceful. Okay, so Mega Camp is incredible. It is August 14th through 16th. Elise is taking a carload of people down, so there's a road trip going to Austin. If you want to try the flights, they're right now still under $500. That was a sample I pulled flying out Monday at 10:47 and being back Wednesday by 6:30. So it's not gonna take a long time, and Mega Camp is incredible. The stuff you can get crammed into these 2 days.
Direct flight out of KC, you can do that, so you don't have to go through Dallas. And never mind, I was gonna make a terrible Cowboys joke, but I'll save Mike for that.
That's right.
But we would love for you to be there with us. This is gonna be more big panels, main stage events versus Family Reunion where it's more breakout. Family Reunion the next 2 years will be in Las Vegas, so it will be a little bit more expensive. So if you're wanting to stay more cost focused after attending this week, then Mega Camp would be the great class to attend.
And this on the side here, the goal of Thrive 25 is to have 1,000 agents making $1 million or more by 25.
100,000.
100,000 agents having 1,000 market, all market centers.
100,000 millionaires, which is net worth millionaires, 100,000 agents doing at least 18 sides of transactions.
Yep.
And then all of the market centers being $1 million offices.
So all the stuff we do that's good doesn't help if we can't help you have a career out of it. So all this is focused to help you get going there. Look into this, it's gonna be incredible. Okay, realtor slides, you get these every Monday or every Sunday, but I'd like to hit a couple of important things. YPN committee, which is a lot of our people are doing a navigating the storm during a shifting real estate market. Tomorrow. If only we've been talking about shift for the last.
And charging
year
the
or so.
storm.
Yep. I think you all should look at getting into leadership at GSBR. It is June 30th is the deadline, so get on here, register for this. Okay, never mind, that's the wrong slide.
Okay.
It looked the same as before. Okay, these stats are on there. And you got these Sunday night also. Also, sign up for leadership. It's by the 30th. You gotta have that in. But this shows you the different stats. Like I said, you've already gotten this. That's why we're not getting a lot of time on here. But everything you're seeing is we're down about 18 to 20% from last year.
Mike, at
Yes.
the rate that we're trending,
Uh-huh.
when will we have 2,000 or more listings again?
Whenever builders can keep up with demand,
It's gonna be a long
which is,
time.
we're now 2,000 plus out of
2024
that.
was my calculation.
So,
What's that, Jim?
2024.
yeah. So I mean, until builders can build back up and buyers don't, I mean, it kind of is a big balance. Balance market's about 6 months worth of inventory and we're at a month of inventory right now. So we still have a lot to go from there. And so it's just kind of, I mean, there's so many factors. You have your interest rates, you have world wars, any economic factors that come into it. So I think that's gonna be, if anyone could look in their crystal ball, I think you're gonna get a lot of different answers too.
I remember back in 2016, when I came to KW, it was like 3.5 or 4 months of inventory back then. And it seemed like people, nowadays, if you don't know you want to write an offer on a house, there's 10 other people that have already made that decision.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, I mean, you could look at a house this weekend, next weekend, go back in a month, maybe you can go back in 2 months. And the house may still be there without a price reduction.
Oh,
Wasn't it
yeah.
that we saw 50 homes this last week
Yeah.
sold in less than a day?
Yeah, so it's insane. There's a weird mix because there's no inventory.
Right.
And they've never caught up with it yet. And now land prices are making it even harder.
Yeah.
So,
Mike, I'm stealing this from you, but as of Monday, there was 1,120 active listings. We started the year at 1,250, so we're actually down by, what, 100 and whatever that is.
10%.
yeah.
However, we did get down below 1,000 in April, so we've come up, I mean, about 300 active listings since then, so we've come up pretty drastically. However, it's kind of teeter-tottered back and forth, so.
When we talk interest rates, we're still at a 40-year national average. I mean, will we ever get back to the 2s and 3s? Most likely not ever in our lifetime. And so it's kind of the conversation of cost of waiting. So home prices are continuing to increase. 4% is the average trend line to increase. Last 2 years, we saw 12% and 7%. So until that kind of dips in interest rates, I mean, there's a lot of different factors, but it's still a good time for everyone to buy. I mean, what's the cost of waiting? And I mean, how many of us did that analysis in 2020 as the interest rates were so much and then we're back to it now? I mean,
Yeah.
You're pricing so many people, especially first-time home buyers out in the market right now.
So I hope Jim's prediction is correct. If it's April of next year, that'd be awesome.
I think if you look at the trend, that's where it's going. And if you look back over time, it kind of increases like that. And I don't think we're gonna have I don't think we're gonna have a drop over the course of the summer because the buyers have slowed down because of the interest rates. Here we get a freeze from the Fed this month, but they say, but we may raise it 2 more times this year. Well, that doesn't do anything to motivate buyers.
And then we have an election this year where nothing gets
Election,
done.
yeah, going on. So, I mean, I think the inventory will increase. And I think April of 2024, it'll be at 2,000.
I'm pretty sure I was on a mastermind with Gary last month and he said there's never been a big enough opportunity to start building. And Gary said mega camp last year when the Buy Dirt shirts came out, right? And so he's already talking about that last mega camp. So it'll be interesting to see what shirts he has this year to tell that message. But I mean, it's land prices. Like, how can you go, if you can't find a home to sell, how can you go to make homes to sell and create your own inventory?
What you just said is an interesting thing. At Mega Camp, we're hearing what's coming up in 6 months. So again, go to it because you will be ahead of everybody else in the area by 6 months of what's going on. New document description. Now it's showing you, it's more and more foolproof where you can't put in the wrong things. So just be aware of that. Here's the thing where you need to turn in and serve. Okay, and Tech Time with Nicole, I'm actually stealing it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because we're talking about market trends, I gotta show you what I found out the other day. So I'm in my Flex and obviously mine across here looks totally different from yours. You can customize this, you know. But if you go under menu and way down here to statistics, market summary, market trends graphs, market trends reports, inventory, this is a gold mine of info. Like, let's just click market summary. And I just found this last week. Somebody was talking about it. But when you're talking with a buyer or a seller, and it takes a lot of data, so just be a second. Look at all these stats: number of listings, list prices, absorption rate, sold to list ratio. This is
Sounds
just
like our broker metrics we send out every month.
exactly. And our broker metrics is it's more the whole SOMO. No.
No, we can tailor it down. So
Got
not
it.
only the broker
Okay.
metrics we send out is the Tri-County area, which is Christian, Green, Webster, which is what the board focuses on for
Right.
that. So when we send that out every month.
But if you're getting ready to go on a marketing or a listing appointment tomorrow and you need some stats, look at this stuff you could grab immediately. Okay.
That certain like town stuff or.
I think you can.
There's a customized button up
Customize,
there.
change report date and location. That was one of them. And so see these stars? Anything you star comes up here on your dashboard. So that's why, and you can put them in the order you want. Market trends graphs. Let's see what that does. And I haven't looked into these much. I just heard about this. I'm like, holy crap, we all need to know about it.
And while that's pulling up, don't forget, if you ever have any tech issues that's maybe not KW focused, there is a tech helpline through the Missouri landing page that you can go on. And so a lot of times we get questions of, hey, my computer's not working. How do we fix this? Well, we aren't Geek Squad and that's not really our expertise. However, if you call, they'll be happy to help and it is free for you, for all agents. So the Missouri landing page.
Months of inventory. Yeah, it's all customizable down here. Days on market. Look how it jumped up in favor of March and back down. So all this stuff is available to you. I just want to make sure you do that. So go to menu, statistics, and just play around with it. And you find all the stuff.
Nice.
All right, back to the slideshow.
Thanks, Nicole.
That was great. All right, stats from the week, it's going up. It is not where it was, but we're seeing a trend going up. The number of homes that sold in 1 day or less went from 38 to 51 last week. So that shows that a lot more buyers are out there, even though we're getting a few more homes to look at on the listings. Everywhere went up except East. East stayed the same this month
That's
for some
interesting.
reason, yeah. Here's compared to last year. So last year in GSBR, we had 318 new listings. Look how much we're catching up, 291 this year. Then GSBR 509 last year, 443. There's still a gap, but it's closing. So this is about when things started shifting last year, if you remember, because it was all furious and all of a sudden 8% interest rate. Oh my gosh. And it all sort of slowed down for a little bit. So we're going to see these numbers come together closer. This is the thing Trey was talking about. And this shows you where we were like in 2016, where we had 3,000 listings.
This point, yeah. 2015 was 3,300, 2016, 3,000, 2017, 2,400.
And November or April of 2024, we're gonna be at 2,000. Jim has predicted it, so we're gonna see it happen.
Write that down.
All right, now we're on to our focus for this week. So we're gonna slide this over. Megan and Paulina, can you all come up? So I'm gonna read some of the bio here. Megan Crisson joined Lowther Johnson as an associate in 2016 after clerking with the firm throughout law school. Her practice is both litigation and transaction-based, focusing on real estate and property law, business law. This sounds like all the stuff we deal with every day. This is awesome.
I've worked with many of you before.
Has that been good or bad?
Good, very good.
Okay, good. You went to the Missouri School of Law at Mizzou. Awesome. Also did some things at Drury, graduated magna cum laude. All right, so, and you're a Springfield native. You've been here your whole life.
Except for law school up at Mizzou.
Awesome, very cool. And I just scanned a little bit of it because I know we want to get into the details here. I gotta get your slide set up. So please welcome Megan and Paulina.
So I wanted to bring Megan, she's a friend of mine and an amazing real estate attorney. I know a lot of us dealing with contracts and all kinds of different moving parts, we may have some real estate questions. So that's why I wanted to bring Megan in. She does have a slideshow that she's gonna go through. And then towards the end of it, if we have some time, I would like to open up the floor. If you guys have any specific questions, this is your chance to ask a real estate attorney a question without getting charged $500 per minute. So, of course, please be respectful with your questions. And I'm just gonna let Megan take over. Like I said, she has a slideshow. We sent out questions to all of you. So some of you have submitted questions that she's gonna go through. And then at the end, if we have some time, you'll have a chance to ask more specific questions.
Okay, great. So I'm going to be fairly mindful with your time. I know that there's a limited amount of time left and you probably have a lot of questions. Paulina was kind enough to send me some of your questions ahead of time. So I tried to put them into my slideshow, but I have handouts for you at the end. So I'm going to go fairly quickly through the slideshow so that there's plenty of time for any sort of questions. So just a little bit of background about me. I focus just on real estate business and estate work on both the litigation and transactional side. Anything that happens prior to closing, I've drafted, I've negotiated, I've worked on. Anything that happens after closing, any sort of real estate dispute, I've dealt with. It's what I do all day, every day. If you call me and you say that you have a family law issue, I'm going to say I have a partner who can help you with that because it's not what I do. But these three areas are what I do, and I can be a good resource for you. And if for some reason you need something outside of my wheelhouse, I'm happy to point you in the right direction as well. So I'm Megan Crisson. I'm a partner over at Lowther Johnson. Florence, if you wouldn't mind to stand up, wave at everybody. This is my assistant, Florence Matney.
Hi, Florence.
She keeps everything moving. She is a good contact person because I'm often running around. I'm in court, I'm in mediation, depositions, I'm not at my desk. Florence helps with all the day-to-day and is a good way to always reach me if you have an urgent need and you can't get in touch with me. She always knows how to reach me. So getting into the actual material. So I get asked a lot about estate planning. I'm just going to put all of these on the board now. So the main thing is you need to think of two different worlds. There are two different worlds. There's the non-probate world and the probate world. And people always ask me, hey, I think I need a will. Well, you probably do need a will, but the goal is to actually keep you out of probate or keep your clients out of probate. So while a will is helpful, the goal is to have the will never ever get probated because you've gone about all of these chapter 461 or 456 transfers so that everything already transfers and is taken care of immediately upon somebody's passing or is already titled separately. So a couple examples, beneficiary deeds, pay on death designations, transfer on death designations, durable powers of attorney for healthcare and finances, and then of course, trusts. Trusts are very commonly thought of as something that everyone should have. And a long time ago, they were marketed as such. And there are still a bunch of attorneys who will tell you that everybody needs a trust. Who actually really needs a trust? If your asset level is pretty high, if you have minor children, or if you want to exercise quite a bit of control after you pass away. And then lastly, if you have some sort of Medicaid planning that you want to do so that you can preserve your assets, or if you have maybe a special needs child. And we do all of that. So every estate planner's goal, keep you out of probate, but if you're in probate, have a will, otherwise everything passes through the intestacy statute. So if you have anything that's not just going up and down the chain, so to children, spouse, children, then you want to make sure that you have other arrangements in your will in case you get in probate. Otherwise, you can draft any of these documents however you want, and you'll stay outside of the probate world. Okay, so beneficiary deeds are the very, very best estate planning tool you can recommend to any of your clients. The reason for that is it's a 10%, it's a 10 times plus return on your investment. It's about $200 to do a beneficiary deed. It's over $2,000 to open a basic probate estate where nobody fights over anything. So get your beneficiary deeds done for homes, recommend them to your clients, send them our way, we can prepare them, but they are so much more inexpensive than what you would deal with should you open a probate estate, even if there's only one heir and no claims. So in order to do that, we have just some basic information that we take. There's all kinds of ways you can draft these. You can have alternates, you can have it go linear descendants per stirpes. So that, for example, if you have 2 children you're leaving it to, and you put linear descendants per stirpes, you can have it be to where it goes to that child's children, should the child predecease and you forget to update the beneficiary deed. So there's all kinds of ways you can do estate planning just through this one instrument. Of course, those are only good for homes. Then you have your pay on death and transfer on death designations. Most common example is for pay on death is a bank account, transfer on death designations, vehicles, investment accounts, and then also interest in LLCs and tangible personal property designations. That's a newer form that we're seeing quite a bit of. And that just basically avoids any sort of need to probate any personal assets. So like expensive jewelry, guns, that sort of thing. Powers of attorney. So these can be immediate or springing, durable powers of attorney, and special powers of attorney. Durable powers of attorney include healthcare, and then also finances. And special powers of attorney are usually found in real estate closing situations where you have one of the parties who's unable to be present for closing. So we see a lot of those, especially with these buyers that I'm sure you all have seen that are coming in from out of state. Maybe they can't make it to the closing. So they appoint somebody else, or like a husband and wife, and one of the spouses is traveling. They appoint their spouse to serve as their special agent for signing purposes. Durable powers of attorney for healthcare and finances can be immediate or springing. Springing, you can have either one physician or 2 physicians declare you incapacitated before it actually springs. And then you have an agent that you have appointed to make those decisions for you. You can limit it as much as you want, or you can make it as broad as you want. Healthcare powers of attorney, normally the way I draft them, I also include a healthcare directive so that in the event, and I try to get 3 different agents, so 1 agent and then 2 alternates. If all of your agents are unavailable, the healthcare directive is there to go ahead and kick in. The healthcare directive does not provide for an agent, but it expresses all of your wishes. So for instance, if you name 3 people and nobody can serve as your agent, or you have this form, you never update it, then they can rely on what your actual wishes are. So talked a little bit about this. There's 2 different types of trust. Really, like in a broader category, there's revocable and irrevocable trust. Revocable trust can be changed at any point in time as long as the settlor has capacity, the person who formed the trust. So let's say it's the Megan Croissant Trust. As long as I have the capacity to make my own decisions, I can change it at any point in time. With respect to the irrevocable trust, those are very difficult to change, although there's a caveat that there are a couple ways that those could be changed. But typically that's for special needs trust or Medicaid planning. So I got some questions about adverse possession. Adverse possession is a disfavored remedy. It is a matter of grace and not a matter of right. Courts do not typically like to take away land from anyone. If you are going to bring an adverse possession claim, you want to make sure, I just think of it as the ocean elements, that the adverse possession has to be open, continuous for a period of 10 years, exclusive, adverse or hostile, and then notorious. So everybody knows that you're doing it. And then one of the things that a lot of people do not realize is that you can adversely possess to get, of course, the fee simple interest. So you're asking for a quiet title to be quieted in the land itself, or you can actually ask for an easement. So we see that a lot of the time whenever somebody is traveling a road and they've been using the road forever, but they don't actually have a right to the road. So homeowners associations and declarations of covenants, conditions, and restrictions. These are normally set up by the developer. The document normally governs what the rules are as to any sort of conditions, how decisions can be made, how changes can be made. It's important your clients know if their property is subject to either or both of these things. That's always going to be found on the title commitment. You don't have to necessarily be the interpreter of this document, but you should have the basic knowledge to go and look and identify and let your client be on notice that their property has some sort of declaration of CCRs against it. Because that's going to affect things like if they want to do an addition, if they want to have their roof replaced, it might have to be a certain color. Things that they're not necessarily thinking about, but they could be upset with you later for not alerting them to. If it becomes defunct, because you're imposing restrictions, if you are not the developer, if the developer has relinquished all of their rights and you just have a bunch of homeowners, and the homeowners association becomes defunct because the document says it's only good for 3 successive periods of 10 years. I see that all the time. Then you need every single homeowner to agree to form a new homeowners association. So the default rule is if you're doing something to make it less restrictive, you need a simple majority. If you're doing something to make it more restrictive, you need everybody to agree. So this is just a list of basic closing documents. We've drafted all of them. We draft all of them literally multiple times every single week. Obviously, you guys have your own contracts that you use. We draft promissory notes and deeds of trust. We also draft loan documents. We'll do releases of deeds of trust, releases of lis pendens. So if there's been a lis pendens you all are probably familiar with, but if there's a lawsuit pending that affects the property, those get filed, it clogs up your closing, makes it towards difficult to pass title. We prepare those. The collection for small estate affidavit, letters of administration, letters testamentary, affidavit of heirship, those all come up whenever you have an owner who has passed away and you're wondering, oh gosh, the title commitment came back and it says the heirs at law of John Smith. Well, what do I do? Who's gonna sign? That's your answer. It's gonna fall in one of those categories. And then of course your normal transfer deed, beneficiary deed if they elect to do that, private road agreement if it's needed, and well agreement if they're on well and they don't already have a written agreement. So like I said, there's 4 different ways to go about clearing title if you have a deceased owner. And we deal with all of them every single day. The affidavit for collection of small estate, you're looking at less than $40,000 in net. And net is the key term here because if there's a mortgage and after the mortgage gets paid, there's only $40,000 in equity, you can go this route. It's going to take 2 to 4 weeks depending on how fast or slow the court is. But it's going to be a lot less expensive and a lot less time intensive than a regular probate estate. And again, I'm going kind of fast, so if you have additional questions, let me know. I just want to make sure we have plenty of time to address anything you want to talk about. So letters of administration and letters testamentary are very similar. Letters of administration are whenever there's no will. Letters testamentary get issued when there is a will. If you have a will, the will has to be probated within 1 year of the date of death of the decedent. And actually, in order to open any sort of true probate estate and get letters of administration or letters testamentary, you have to do it within 1 year of the date of death. Oh, and we typically call people personal representatives these days. The term executor gets thrown around a lot, but they really consolidated that and administrator. Executor was under a will, administrator was without a will. Now it's just called personal representative. It makes it a lot cleaner. It's easier. You don't have to worry about what situation you're in. So again, the goal is always to avoid probate. It's expensive. It's a minimum of 6 months. Most of them actually take a year if you're doing a full probate estate. There's a 6-month claims period that runs. Publication's expensive. Opening the thing is expensive. I mean, you're looking at $1,000 in fees that have absolutely nothing to do with our time. It's just the expense with the court. $700 in publication, $300 to open it, just to file it. So I mean, it's a costly thing. So if you can advise your clients to talk to somebody and get things set up to avoid it, it's definitely in their best interest. Affidavit of heirship. Florence, how many of these do you think we do?
Oh, goodness. A lot.
So these are great, especially whenever there is just real estate at issue, because whenever you get that title commitment and it says the heirs at law of John Smith. Well, if it's been more than 1 year and a probate estate cannot be open and there's no other assets, and you can track down someone who knows the decedent, who is not related to the decedent, then you can do this. And it's about $275 as opposed to the $2,000 plus I just told you about for any sort of probate estate. And it's done immediately. We prepare it, we send you a questionnaire, it gets recorded, and now you can pass title. So, and it has there's a list of different things that are required to be recited in it. And we have a questionnaire in case you guys ever have one of those situations come up. But it is by far the most efficient probate tool. Determination of heirship is whenever you have assets other than just a piece of real estate, or if there's not a closing that's occurring and somebody has property. We see this a lot. People don't understand that just because mom and dad died and they were the only child, that they need to do something to retitle the property. So they'll go and like try to get a loan to do a refi, and then they'll realize they don't actually have any sort of legal ownership to where they could get a loan. So a determination of heirship proceeding puts it in their name through a decree of the court, takes about 1 to 3 months, depending on if you know all of the heirs. It is more expensive than the affidavit for small estate or the affidavit of heirship, but it's less expensive and less time consuming than the full-blown probate estate. But again, only applies if it's greater than a year. Okay, private road agreements and well agreements. These are a lot more common than you would think, especially with where we live. There's lots of private roads. There's lots of people who subdivide and give off, and they give easements. And a lot of these lenders want all kinds of things satisfied depending on the type of loan. For example, if you have an FHA loan, they really want, or HUD loan, they want all kinds of different things included in the agreement. If you're going through just a standard lender, they still want an agreement because they want to make sure they have reassurance that there's always going to be access in case they have to take the property back.
How long does something like that take to draft? I mean,
It doesn't. It's actually really fast for us to draft it. What takes the time is making sure we have all of the correct information. So this is a list of some of the things that we'll need. And the most important thing that we really need if we're doing a private road agreement is we need some way to particularly describe the road. If we just say the road known as Old Wire Road, but it's not marked anywhere as Old Wire Road, then what we need is we need a meets and bounds description of where this road is so that we can include it and it can be enforceable. I literally have some people I'm working with right now that have property and they have something that it's called a road by a particular name, but there's no meets and bounds. It's not platted anywhere as this road, doesn't show up on any county map as this road. So we're trying to actually go forth with getting an easement, and we're having to do easement by necessity, easement by prescription, because there was an attempt multiple owners before to give an easement, but it was ineffective. And the new owner, who would have, been their predecessors gave the easement, the new owner just doesn't want to allow access. So it's important to get them right, but this is a list of the different things that you want to include in the agreement. So names, marital statuses, legal descriptions, any special terms, so that's important for some of the loans. And then the way to particularly describe the road, if it's a well location, what property it's on. So is it on property A or property B? Who are the owners? What are the legals for the properties? And those are fairly inexpensive. They're $275 to $475, just depending upon the amount of work required. So this one's interesting. You guys talked a little bit about some litigation. I will tell you that people are more litigious than they have ever been. So just be really careful. Just because somebody doesn't have a good claim against you does not mean they will not sue you. So a couple things that come up all the time. I have this right now, multiple times, being a dual agent. If you're going to be a dual agent, keep it transactional. Be really, really careful that you're not making any sort of representation that you are representing somebody's interest. You're just doing the transaction. You're doing both sides of it. Otherwise, you run into situations where there's breach of fiduciary duty. I'm actually seeing this right now in a deal where an individual who was initially working with the seller signed up the buyer, made it they're serving as a dual agent, and then they contacted the buyer and told the buyer what inspector to use for both the home inspection and the termite inspection. And the buyer was out of state, so they thought they were being helpful. But lo and behold, the inspector missed things. Now there's all kinds of damage and the realtor and broker are being brought into it. So just be really careful. If you're transactional, make it transactional. Don't be doing additional things above and beyond. Give them the list of everybody. If you want to give them a list of 10, give them a list of 10. Don't tell them who to use. Just don't do it.
Would that have been avoided if they had just had the buyer sign that they understood that I was representing the seller? Because that's what I usually do. I don't like to get into a dual agency situation.
Yeah. So yes, as long as you don't make additional representations outside of that. So on this particular situation, they actually meant to check the dual agent box. They did not. They checked the limited seller's agent box, but then they sent emails to the buyer. Thank you for letting me represent you and trusting me with this transaction. And they had the best of intentions, and they actually referred people that for the inspections that they thought would be good people, just to write the home inspector and the termite inspector. And there's about $180 some odd thousand of damage because the inspector messed up.
So as a dual agent, do you have to be a transaction agent to both parties, or can you be a designated agent on one side and then a transaction agent to the other side?
So I think that's probably a good question to ask Jim as to how he prefers that you actually do things. But generally speaking, if you're going to be somebody's agent, you're their agent, and you need to let everybody know that while you're taking the commission on both sides, you're really providing representation to seller.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean you necessarily have to do a dual agency. But if you're not going to be just a transaction agent, then make sure that you make it known that, hey, you were working with seller before and you're writing up this deal and you're going to communicate with buyer, but you really are representing seller.
Got it. Thank you.
Buying from potential clients, just be really careful, because if they decide that if you go and you meet with somebody, and I've seen this come up a lot too, if you go and you meet with somebody and they're getting ready to list the property and you say, hey, actually, if you don't want to list it, I'll just buy it from you. Seems like a win-win situation, unless and until they decide that they could have gotten much more somewhere else. So you just have to be really careful. And honestly, as insulting as it is to get sued, if you guys are doing the numbers you're talking about in your team meeting, you're just going to get sued. It's a numbers game. If your numbers eventually it's going to get called up. It's going to get called up multiple times if you do it long enough. just part of it. People are litigious. They're more litigious than they've ever been. Things also settle more than they ever have, but people are hiring attorneys left and right with any sort of complaint they might have.
So with buying from potential clients, is it that you get some sort of written saying, I will buy it for this, or if I did a CMA, this is what it could go for, and they would sign that they agree to either
I
option?
would certainly do that. However, that doesn't prevent them from suing you. That might give you a good defense.
Okay.
It doesn't prevent them from suing you in the first place. So this is a big one. I'm sure you probably have all kinds of classes on how to read title commitments, but generally speaking, as a realtor or broker, you are expected to be able to understand and read a title commitment and alert your customer to any sort of issues that there might be with the title commitment. This happens all the time. One of the big things, and this, I do more of these than I would even like to do. There are so many properties that are bought without access. And there is, and it doesn't specifically call it out most of the time. It doesn't say no road. It just says, it'll say something very subtle like, no access found through, it'll reference a document, or it will say, road dedication might have been wiped out. It'll say something, it'll give because the title companies, they don't necessarily want to commit on that title commitment that it's absolutely no access, but it will say something to tip you off. Giving legal advice. This is really tricky because your clients want to rely on you as their advisor. So really, I mean, you can speak from your experience, but if you're getting ready to give legal advice, really just send them to us. I mean, people hate to spend money on legal services, but spending money on the front end is so much less expensive than spending money on the back end. And I have so many people where they will call me, not even kidding, they'll call me at the front of a deal and they'll say, so-and-so told me about you, I want to meet with you. And I'll say, okay, well, I'm happy to meet with you, Florence will book it, it's $300 an hour. And they'll say, oh, well, I don't want to do that. And then I get a call and their bill is, something's gone really badly. And they're like, okay, I need your help now. And for the hour they would have spent with me, I would have told them, run away, buy something different. And instead, now we're spending, I mean, you can't litigate anything hardly for less than $10,000. I mean, and the average lawsuit costs $30,000 to $40,000 to defend. So. Realtors get sued all the time for advice or representations made. The biggest one I see, because this is what I do every single day, is I think the line that, yeah, that's the property line. Don't be saying that. Like, I cannot tell you how many different agents I see get sued for representations about where the property is. Doesn't matter if you're representing buyer, seller, only one of them. Just don't be making representations as to where the line is. You can show them a printout of the GIS and say, this is what the GIS says, but you should really contact the surveyor if you have questions. But don't make a representation as to where it is, because you'll get dragged into the lawsuit too. And then get your O&E insurance. It's really relatively inexpensive. And again, if you're doing the volume that it sounds like everybody in this room wants to be doing, your number is going to pop up. It's going to pop up multiple times over the course of your career. At some point or another, even if you're lucky and it's never happened before, it's going to happen. So go ahead and get it that way. Whenever it does happen, they will defend your lawsuit and they'll indemnify you, and your deductible is relatively small compared to the cost of defense or whatever the exposure is with the damages. So, and then if you have any questions, I have business cards, I have a worksheet back there, and then I'm happy to stay and answer any questions now. Yeah.
I've got two, actually. You guys do your own real estate contracts.
We do, but
sale
it just
contract.
depends. It depends. People will sometimes call and they will want to use our office and have me prepare a real estate contract as opposed to going through an agent, but
I was just curious how similar or different your contract would be than what we use every day. If you look at our contract and say, ugh, you know, all we need is this, or if it's very similar, I'm just.
Well, so you're asking, it's kind of a trick question. It's probably different based on what office you're in, but one of my partners actually wrote the contract that you guys use a long time ago, and he's just made additions to it over the years. I would say it's generally pretty similar. I don't prepare a ton of real estate contracts. I've actually sent business your guys' way because I don't want to be preparing unless it's a complicated deal where we need all kinds of crazy due diligence and it's like, you know, multi-million-dollar deal. I don't really want to be preparing just general real estate contracts. Part of the reason is because then people, they really want a realtor. They don't want an attorney. And I'm not at my desk all the time. And I don't want to be doing counter offers at weird hours. I have enough things I have to do at weird hours. So most of the time, if somebody calls me for that, I specifically say, all right, well, like, who's the person you're buying from? If it's a family member and it's like a handshake deal and they just need a way to memorialize it and they've already agreed to everything, I'm always happy to put it together. If it's like, I have a deal right now that was this hotel down in Branson and the guy wanted to talk to me at all hours of the night and like, this really isn't what I, like, I also do litigation and I've got like over 100 active files. I have a lot of active files. I don't want to play realtor. I mean, I respect what you guys do and it's awesome, but the way the rest of it works, that role doesn't work very well with my function. So I've sent business your guys' way because I don't want to do that, but the contracts are generally pretty similar. I do participate in transactions for like sales of businesses, along with the real estate where there's all kinds of due diligence and weird requirements and unconventional financing where we're also preparing the loan documents, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, so I wanted to circle back earlier when we were talking about HOAs. You said something about the common thing you see is 3 consecutive 10-year periods.
It depends. Those are typically prepared by the developer or the developer's attorney, and then they're recorded.
So if that verbiage is in there, does that mean any house built 92 or before, we need to be really doing our due diligence on whether or not that association is still active or?
I mean, and you'll know some of this just from being a part of the community. You'll know that there are HOA dues for specific neighborhoods. I would say assume that it's still active unless you go and get a professional opinion that it's not.
Okay.
Yes.
Beneficiary deed. I had a call from an agent the other day who had 4 beneficiaries.
Okay.
Okay. But they had an executor. Can the executor sign the contract on the sale of a property?
Ooh, no. Okay, so first of all, executor calls out probate. So beneficiary deed with 4 beneficiaries is no big deal. In fact, the beneficiaries taking title to the property can all sign, or they can do limited powers of attorney to designate people to sign. Like they could say, so let's say it's sister and 4 brothers or sister and 3 brothers. And the 3 brothers can't sign, they can all appoint sister to be the one
That was
signing.
the question. She said one of the beneficiaries was the executor. Not possible.
So,
I told her, I said, listen, get everybody to sign it, siblings.
yeah, so here's the deal. The term executor triggers probate. Beneficiary deed is non-probate. And the easiest way to think about these is these are 2 different worlds. Even if you have a probate estate, the property subject to a properly recorded beneficiary deed never goes in this world. So the frank answer is, I don't care if they're executor or not, that doesn't apply in this situation.
Steve had one more question.
Oh, about trusts.
Mhm.
So I feel like I've got all that kind of handled. Do you ever audit a trust made by another attorney to check mark, yes, this is done, this is done? I think it'd be valuable to have a second set of eyes maybe. And is that something you?
Yeah, I get hired to do that quite a bit. Also, a lot of the time, people don't actually update their trust. They don't update their estate planning documents. Honestly, I'm fairly frugal, personally. So I don't tell, and I expect most of my clients to be the same way. So realistically, do people need to come in every single year and get their estate planning documents updated? No. Are there attorneys who will tell you that? Yes. Is that wrong? No, but it's not necessary. Really, it's anytime there's a life change, anytime, so like a marriage, a death, a birth, some sort of like big dispute in the family, anytime there's a big life event, update your documents, all of them. Or if that doesn't happen, review them every 5 years and make sure that there's not anything that you want changed. But I do get hired all the time to read things and give an opinion as to whether or not it does what they think it says it's supposed to do.
Okay, there's a question online, divorce selling before finalization or after?
So it depends. You can do either. It is certainly a lot easier to do it after. But one of the things I see all of the time, and this is actually an excellent question, we see all of the time that there is a divorce decree that says, you name it, husband gets the property, wife gets the property. And there's a decree that says that, but the title company still wants a quitclaim deed. And then you're in the process of trying to hunt down ex-spouse and get them to sign a quitclaim deed. And is the decree truly enough? Probably, but is it enough for the underwriters of the title company to want to issue a title policy? No. So if you have people going through a divorce, make sure you put that bug in their ear with their attorney. And family law attorneys are not real estate attorneys most of the time. So they need to make sure that they're asking that be a requirement. And even if that attorney doesn't prepare it, have it be a requirement in the decree so they can then bring a motion to enforce in the family courts if they need to later get the quitclaim deed prepared.
Or I've seen where they still are, the ex is still on the loan.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Somebody owns the property, somebody else is still on the loan.
Yep, that happens all the time.
On a private road agreement, do you have to get all the parties to agree on that? Now, if it was addressed in the earlier covenants and restrictions, there's no HOA, but there was covenants and restrictions that have now expired, and the road was addressed in that, but it's expired.
Doesn't matter.
None of it matters.
If it's expired, you're starting from square one.
What would be the best way to start that or initiate? There's 7 owners.
Be real nice and knock on each of their doors and see if you can convince them to sign. It's not fun. It's a lot of work, the more people you have, but that's really what you have to
We
do.
had to do that very thing in that little place out there off of W at Ozark with the airstrip.
Yes,
That's
we
a
know
private
that.
road, and we had to get everybody to agree to a private road agreement for us to get. that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
Any
gotta
sort of-
take the notary with you. Really?
So what we actually do,
You got it, notarized signature on it.
so what we do a lot of the time, we prepare a ton of these. We'll prepare them, we'll give each party their own signature page with a notary block. And depending upon this, I mean, you're welcome to bring the notary with you. But also what we have is once people are in agreement, they just each have their own signature page and counterparts all put together, make a final document, it's enforceable. So then they can go and get it, they can take their time to review it, so you don't get a claim later that you've coerced somebody to sign something they don't understand. That happens too. And then that way they can just do it on their own time and get the signature page back to you or our office.
I know we're running long with, but back to the divorce. Okay, so you're saying in the decree, the judge has ordered the, one of the spouses to gets the property and the other one doesn't. And let's say there aren't any, there's no loan there.
Okay.
Okay.
That should, a recorded copy of that should be enough, but
If there's a loan,
so, well, even if there's not a loan, a recorded copy of that, a certified copy that is taken down to the recorder's office and recorded should be enough. However, what is legal and what is required by an underwriter are not necessarily the same thing.
so what are you saying then is
The
You
very
need a
best
quick
practice,
claim
the
at the
very,
time of the divorce decree?
yes.
Okay, that's, I just need to know what they
That's
tell me.
the very best practice, because even though technically the judgment is more powerful than the quitclaim deed, there are a handful of different underwriting companies that want an actual quitclaim deed, and then you're left trying to hunt it down. So best practice is to have the divorce decree giving them the property and referencing a quitclaim deed as exhibit A, B, C, whatever, and then it's just all together, and then the quitclaim deed gets recorded.
Okay, one more on the divorce, because I get these questions from these guys all the time. So the wife says to our agent, I want to write an offer on that house, and they're still in the middle of the divorce. can they go back to the spouse and the spouse's attorney and get a waiver of marital rights on that purchase?
Sure.
Okay, and then the spouse doesn't own half of it.
Yeah, you would want to do a very you'd want to make it as specific
Yeah,
as
specific to
possible.
the
Yeah.
address. Okay, good. All right.
And you-
Okay, don't ask me a question anymore.
Well, and we run into this sort of thing all the time. I represent a large title company. I've worked with a lot of different title companies. I've worked with a lot of realtors and brokers. This is what I do. I mean, if you call me and you have something totally outside of, real estate business or estate work, I'm gonna send you to somebody else. But if it's in this area, and even if it's a weird question, I joke, I specialize in weird. If it was easy, they wouldn't be calling me. So
Let's get two more questions and we'll need to wrap up. Daniel.
I get a fairly easy one, but my mom has put her house when she dies into my son's name. Well, my son just got married and took his wife's name. And I'm wondering if they've got to do a new one because he is no longer, Matthew Gross. He is now Matthew, some other name I can't remember.
that's actually a really good question. So the answer to that is no, you don't need to. However, whenever he goes to do something with the property, there will have to be some sort of recitation in the deed that he's the same person and he took title by this beneficiary deed and he changed his name following a marriage and blah, blah, blah deed. But specific recitations and deeds often clean that up. One misnomer that is very, very common is people think if somebody dies and there's a beneficiary deed, title's automatically in their name. That is not necessarily the case. You have to actually go and record a copy of the death certificate and that gets it changed with the county.
Okay, so I needed to know that.
Denise looks very determined. She's the last one.
Back to the CCR thing. If the real estate agents attach this expired CCRs to the listing, do they have any responsibility for that? Or is it the responsibility of the buyer's agent to have known those were expired?
So
An attorney.
So first of all, what you wanna do is you wanna make no representation as to whether or not they are still in effect, but indicate that they were provided to you by the seller. And indicate that buyers should do their own due diligence as to whether or not they're still in effect.
So what would be a good way for a buyer to do their due diligence?
Call me. Say,
Oh.
or any attorney, but it's what we talked about earlier. Nobody likes to spend money on attorneys. But I cannot tell you, I have so many people who bought properties in subdivisions and then they're like, oh my gosh, I have to get everybody to approve it before I can do an addition, before I can make a significant change to the way my house looks. I literally had a trial in May. And it was kind of a sad deal, but this woman put up a 6-foot wooden privacy fence and it was I was against her. I represented the HOA and she violated the covenants and they had the right to enforce it, but she put up a nice, probably $6,000 privacy fence, but she didn't go about getting approval like she was supposed to under those CCRs. She was supposed to have a wrought iron fence. So, and she refused to take it down. And so we had a trial and the CCRs provide for attorney fees. So the HOA got all of their attorney fees back because we won and she got ordered to remove the fence and replace it, either remove it entirely or if she wanted to put a new one up, put up a wrought iron fence. So it cost her a lot more than the hour if she would have called an attorney and had an attorney who's skilled in real estate read the document and interpret it for her.
Can you stay around a few minutes afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't ask the attorney or specific things or certain, because you can't answer those, but if you have general questions, that'd be great. Let's give Megan a round of applause for being here.
Yes.
For the right retainer, I'm sure we can do that.
$10 an hour, Jim.
Also, next week is ask an appraiser. So we have 3 appraisers in here that will help you know, like especially the ANSI 2 thing that's going on, with the square footage. So tell everybody about it from our brokerage, from others. 3 great appraisers are going to be here for that. So again, thank you for being here with us. Thank you all for being here. Have a great week and let's end the recording.